And listen, the kid fought hard, he fought tough. He's got power, this kid. You know, he was bigger than me on the scouts. I don't know how you did it. I'm looking at him, he's 168. I'm listening about now. What the hell's going on? But listen, we put on a show. Yeah, Conor Benn was the best man tonight. So congratulations.
What's next for you, Chris? I know it's very fresh, but it is one apiece. Conor says it's the end of the Eubank Benn saga. What's your opinion on that?
1-1. I've got to go away and deal with some of the things I've been dealing with over the last couple of months. And who knows, maybe we'll see something new with me and him, maybe we won't. But for right now, it's all about this man. Says no. Congratulations.
Commiserations, Chris, but congratulations on being a wonderful sport, and we look forward to seeing what is next. Conor, if it's not the trilogy next, back down to 147, what's next for Conor Benn?
I fancy burials for the WBC world title. Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, all of them Yanks can get it any day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Let's bring in your dad, Nigel Benn. Where is he? Is he in the mix somewhere? Nigel Benn's over there. Let's bring in Nigel Benn alongside your son here, Nigel. We're live around the world. If you just turn around, Nigel, face the cameras here. How proud are you of your son tonight, witnessing what you just witnessed in the ring?
I don't know. I'm going to get it. He's got one up on me, so you know, I know I'm going to get it, but I'm so proud of what he done tonight. And he sticked to his game plan. He worked the body. You know, I can't fault what he done. You know, the missed decision. He done what he had to do. Now he can drop back down to 147, win the WBC, get rid of the intercontinental stuff, got the real belt. Proud of your son. Well done, mate.
Hearing those words, Conor, that your father's proud of you, ultimately, is that what all that really matters?
That's all that matters. I come in here tonight and all that matters is my dad, me, my old man, the family feud. There was a lot of pressure on me to settle it tonight. I felt the pressure. Not from the world, not from anyone, but I just wanted to do the family and them proud. And I've completed it, mate. I've completed it, mate. Forget everything else. It will forever. It will forever be in history. 1-0.
We have a final message, Conor, before we bring in Promoter Eddie Hearn, for everyone who came out tonight.
I don't know what you said.
A final message to everyone who came out tonight and witnessed another special occasion.
A big thank you to everyone. I won't be the man I am, I won't be the fighter I am. It's been some journey. We've been through adversity. We've been through everything. And we're only just getting started.
Seems like this is special for the whole family here in the ring for you tonight as well, Conor.
Let me see you there. What do you think?
I'm so proud of you.
We'll bring in promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie was just letting the pictures tell the story there. It's a family affair, and it's wonderful to see. Wonderful to see the respect between Chris and Conor. But what did you make of this performance?
I mean, you're crying, I'm not crying, Jeremy. I mean, this is what it's all about. People don't understand. Conor Benn left Australia to pursue his boxing career. You know, firstly with Ricky Hatton, and then of course with Tony Sims, and he gave up everything back home to live the dream of his journey. And you know, he's a great example to people who might not be able to see a way back. Last year or so, there was no way back for Conor Benn. He was down and out. You know, he had bills coming out of his ear holes. And you know, we're in this month of November at the moment, and people need to realise he's an inspiration for those people. He was done. The world was against him. He had no money. He was fighting cases. He was putting everything he had up for sale to try and win his case. He won that appeal. He came back. He boxed Chris Eubank Jr. twice, and tonight he won by a landslide. It was a great boxing performance. It was a very different fight. But now we do what his dad did, which is now drop down to 147 and try and win a world title there. I believe he's going to do it. The whole team deserves unbelievable credit. Tony Sims took this young man on as a complete novice. We watched his professional debut at the O2. We were a little bit worried if there was going to be fight number 2. He's just filled Tottenham twice, and now he's going to go and fight for a world title. Tony and the team deserve a lot of credit, but this young man works very, very hard. From a man that comes from, you know, some might say a privileged upbringing, to be as tough as that is, to have that kind of work ethic and drive and hustle, he's some man. I'll tell you what, like I said, to people out there that are struggling, he was done. He was done, and he found a way back. And look at him now, he's on top of the world.
Final word to you, Tony Sims, in terms of the game plan. How perfect was that?
Well, like I said at the press conference, he had to make adjustments for the return fight, and he worked hard to make them adjustments, use his feet more, counter what Chris was doing more. And, you know, I thought he boxed well. He won nearly every round. The last round, if he weren't so near the bell, I think it would have been over in that last round. So he boxed outstanding. It's like Eddie said, he's come from a complete novice into a world-level fighter, jumped up 2 weights, and beat a world-class fighter, ranked number 3 in the world in the Ring magazine. And we want to drop that back down to 147 now and box it his natural way and win a world title, and that's the aim now.
Great stuff, Tony. Eddie, thanks very much for speaking. Just congratulations, of course, to Conor Benn. Plenty to discuss. Back to you guys.
It's taken 30.
All right, guys. So the untouchable True School Sports Empire, and y'all know the rest, guys. This is, in fact, the immediate aftermath of Conor Benn completely outclassing Chris Eubank Jr. Very thus far in his career, this is definitely the best performance of his career. I want to give him credit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is a fight that I really did not care about at all coming into the fight. I didn't care about the first fight like that, but I cared about it more than the rematch. I cared about the rematch even less than the first fight. But you know what? Conor Benn, I think, deserves credit. I think this is the best performance of his career. I know it'll be very easy to say like Chris Eubank Jr. Was washed up and got old overnight, and to some extent that might be true. But at the same time, I think Conor Benn in this fight, he showed lot of skill in terms of his boxing, in terms of his ability to get in and out, footwork wise, his explosiveness. He was the stronger man. Despite the fact that Conor Benn campaigns normally between 147 and 154, he every time he punched Eubank and Eubank punched him, I felt like his punches had a bigger effect on Eubank. He was definitely the stronger man in there. And Eubank, what's going on, man? Chris Eubank Jr., he got me fired up. Chris Eubank Jr. is why this live is even happening, because the reason I even got any way emotionally invested in this fight was because he had 50 Cent walk him out, and 50 Cent did a whole 3-song performance, Many Men, Wanksta, I Whoop Your Head Boy, and that's actually what got me excited, invested in the fight. So even though he didn't perform inside the ring, Eubank definitely went ahead and he performed outside the ring and bringing 50 Cent. But with Eubank, last fight, he wound up winning that fight because of the fact that he was just able to be the stronger, busier man down the stretch in the first fight. And tonight, he just couldn't get out of that first gear. He couldn't put his punches together. He looked every bit like a lethargic 36-year-old fighter. So, look, Eubank never won a legitimate world title. But what I can say about Eubank is he was a fighter that, was always, for the most part, not tonight, but for most of his career, exciting, worth the watch, and that sometimes that's enough. But just listen, guys, shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Definitely, super chat, all that good stuff, and that'd be greatly appreciated. We're here, we're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. We're giving you guys that world-class boxing talk, and I appreciate everybody being here. Give me your thoughts. I want to hear what do the boxing streets think about Eubank versus Benn, because I think the consensus coming in, it was pretty split. Like when I would go and I would look at the predictions, I felt like it was pretty split going down the middle, like the first fight was. One factor that I didn't factor in, because again, like there's so many fights in boxing that I was way more excited about than this fight. I didn't really follow the build-up like that. I didn't realize that Chris Eubank Jr. apparently got some chick pregnant and is having twins. So, when a fighter is having kids, let alone twins, that could definitely play a factor in the training camp. But yeah, let's go to the comments, man. We got people chiming in and giving their thoughts. Shout out to Kevin. I think he says the untouchable. Good to see you. My man Brendan said he told everybody. Shout out to Brendan Smith. Matt Bergeson. When I heard that Chris Eubank had twins on the way, I put the parlay on Ben. Kid's always a humble boxer. Yeah, good call there. You made some good money. Conor Benn didn't say the assassin. Yeah, Conor Benn. Conor Benn was running his mouth. He said he wants all those Yanks. He named Barrios. He named Devin Haney. He didn't name Brian Norman Jr. because he knows what's up. Conor Benn don't want that smoke with Brian Norman Jr. But I don't know. Could have been an honest accident. But I think I didn't really pay attention to anybody else he mentioned because really and truthfully, I think if Conor Benn is to go to 47, he's going to go for Barrios. It's the most winnable fight. And he's trying to win a world title. And the thing is this, Conor Benn has done a complete 180 in these last, year and a half, 2 years. A couple years ago, everybody wanted to chuck him in the bin and say, he wasn't nothing no more. Then he lost to Ben the first fight. Now with this sensational victory over Eubank, I don't think the American fight fans really understand what this is going to do for his star power in the UK. This fight was for the casual sports fans of Britain, and with him getting a win and looking so sensational down the stretch, that does a lot for Conor Benn. And I think a lot of people are going to have to start getting their passports and going to the UK because, like I said, even though I wasn't like overly excited about the fight, I'm not no hater. It was a great performance from Ben. He was the stronger man throughout the night, and he was punching with bad intentions from the first round to the 12th round. He was punching with bad intentions. And I'm honestly the only thing that really shot me in this fight was the fact that he didn't drop Eubank earlier. I felt like there was a couple of shots where he would sit down on the shots and he would just miss. He would just miss on his really significant punches that he would throw, and I'm just surprised that Eubank stayed up so long. I thought he would have been dropped about 3 or 4 rounds earlier when I was watching the fight. So, credit to Eubank. He's had a fun career. I don't think he quite got everything out of his career he could have gotten, truth be told, because I've always felt like, he was a little more talented. But he just didn't love the game. He didn't love the sport of boxing like that for parts of his career. So that's just my opinion. But, good fight. What are Ben's chances at 147? I don't think he's gonna really do much at 47, to be honest with you. He might be the Barrios, possibly. He might do something with Barrios, but he's not beating Brian Norman Jr. I don't think he beats Devin if Devin comes to that fight. I would actually. I think Rolly would beat Ben too. I think Rolly could beat Ben if they fought. He could beat Crocker, someone like that, but. I would say Rolly and Barrios probably his best bets. Barrios, then Rolly. Maybe you could make him a slight favorite against Rolly, but I think Rolly could beat him, to be honest with you. I wish I had a mother and father that loved me like Conor's parents. Beautiful family. Listen, if you have one parent that loves you, it's always a blessing. Shout out to Brady. He said, I like the video. Salute. Is it 1-1 now? Yeah, it's 1-1 now, but honestly, there's no need for a third fight. Eubank looks shot to pieces. He gave every last fight. It's clear to see that he gave every last fiber of his being to that first fight. And he's not going to fight again with that sort of ferociousness now. He's got twins on the way, apparently. And I think he's made enough money now where he could enjoy his life after boxing. You know what? I want to push back on one thing that was said in the post-fight interview. Eddie Hearn was saying that Conor Benn apparently was broke. Listen, I'm not here to watch another man's pockets. It's not really my business, but I have a hard time believing that. Like he was in the middle of making Conor Benn a sympathetic figure to the boxing world, and then he was saying, yeah, that Conor Benn had all these bills up to his ears, and he was broke. I don't know, man. He comes from money, so I don't really believe that, but it is what it is. Are you a fan of 50 Cent's music? Yes, I am. I'm a massive fan of 50 Cent's music. That 50 Cent, I'm telling you, if 50 Cent didn't walk out with Conor Benn, I would not be live right now. I would have waited till Espinoza versus K-Guy. I would have went live after that. But I said, you know what? This is a big fight. I'm excited for it now. I'm wide awake. Why not come out? Why not come here and go live? Conor Benn will never be a world champion. I feel like they're gonna try, and I think Eddie Hearn is going to go the route, like my boy Cyrus said. I feel like Eddie Hearn is going to go the route of trying to get him to fight Lewis Crocker. Or I want you guys to watch out for this as well. Now, we know that Bakram Murtazaliev and Josh Kelly are slated to fight in January in Newcastle, England. If But if Josh Kelly, let's just say, if Josh Kelly were to upset the apple cart and defeat Bakram to get the IBF title, then expect Conor Benn versus Josh Kelly to fight each other for the 154 title. Kelly just signed with Matchroom. I don't think that Eddie Hearn just signed him for the sake of making Kelly a world champion. I think Eddie Hearn signed him with the hopes that if Kelly can come through that, it's a potential option for Conor Benn. So look out for that. Shout out to Matt Borgeson with the first super chat at a live. He says, "Call me crazy, but the Canelo fight at 160 for Ben." No, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, could we get Conor Benn versus somebody legitimate? Like, I would rather see him fight Mario Barrios at 147. Like, it's an actual fight at his actual weight. Canelo's already made a whole living off of beating up a bunch of Brits. We don't need to see another one. Like, I'm good off the Canelo fight. I think Conor Benn can become a world champion, and I think he's going to become a world champion if he gets the right matchup. I'm thinking the way they're going to go is if Kelly beats Bakram, which, by the way, full disclosure, I think Bakram is going to beat the dog shit out of Josh Kelly. But if Conor Benn, or if Kelly wins that fight, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing, all parties involved, they're gonna make a full court press to go ahead and make that fight happen. I think, you know what I'm saying? So we'll see how it goes. Ben would get annihilated at 154, more than likely. So I think the best move is to go to 47 is his actual natural weight. What weight do you see Ben at for the future? 54, 47. I see him at 47. I think they're gonna go ahead and make the right calls in camp as far as nutrition is concerned, and they'll get him down to 47. That's really where he needs to be. Funny enough, though, what I'll say is this about Ben. Even though Chris Eubank Jr. looked very flat in there, the small moments in time in this fight where he didn't look flat and he would really commit to his shots, he caught Conor Benn pulling back straight out. So there are still technical things that I think Conor Benn needs to go ahead and fix. Because if not, they put him there with the wrong guy. He's gonna get flattened. But it was good enough for this version of Eubank tonight. This is definitely the best I've seen Conor Benn look since he tested positive for steroids or whatever it was, eggs. And I remember, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. I remember when Conor Benn fought Pistol Pete Dobson back in 2023. I'm getting my years mixed up. Was it last year or was it this year? I don't know. I'm getting my years mixed up. Might have been like early last year. I'm pretty sure it was early last year in 2024. But I remember the day after that fight, I went down to the Cosmopolitan Hotel where the fighters were staying down there in Vegas, and I went to go say hi to my good buddy Jeff Portz, the trainer of Pete Dobson at that time, good friend of mine, Beta Bay Boxing. And while I was talking to Jeff, Conor Benn was in the lobby. I seen Conor Benn in the lobby. And I remember, Conor Benn came and talked to Jeff. And, I got a chance to talk to Conor for like 10, 15 minutes off the record. And basically, remember, he just had a real heavy feeling about him. Like, he felt like, like a lot's happened to him in the sport. And, from the way he was talking, he didn't really want to box no more at that time. He had told me, like, really, I won this fight. It was cool. But, I've lost my love for the sport. I'd be okay if it just ended, tomorrow, so it's good to see he's in a better place now. I don't wish bad on nobody, even though I think, him and his team were very irresponsible with how they handled the whole thing with the eggs and him testing positive. I don't wish bad on nobody. So this win is going to do a lot for his career. It's going to make him a bigger star in the sport. And, we'll see how it goes. I have genuine concerns and questions about if he could really win a world title at 147, but we'll see. It's been what has it been? 3 years? It's been 3 years since he fought at 47. So really, guys, I'm telling y'all this, and I'm telling y'all this right now. I think the move for Conor Benn is gonna be really if Josh Kelly, by hook or by crook, if Josh Kelly can come through that Bakram fight, I really think Josh Kelly versus Conor Benn is a fight that will be explored. Or I'll tell you guys this. You got Xander Zayas taking out Abbas Barrow. I think Xander's going to come through that fight against Abbas Barrow. If that happens, don't even be surprised if you get Xander Zayas versus Conor Benn. I mean, imagine Conor Benn, Xander Zayas, New York City, the Puerto Ricans, the Brits could be a big event as well. I think there's a lot of options for him. For all the talk of what Conor Benn isn't as a fighter, he's a very, very big commercial draw. There's options for him. Gilbert Ford has mentioned Conor Benn versus Lewis Crocker being in one of these British stadiums. Listen, I know to us Americans, like we hear this name Lewis Crocker, and we're like, man, who the fuck is Lewis Crocker? Like, who is this guy? But I'm telling you, look at Lewis Crocker when he fought Paddy Donovan. Look how well they sold when they fought in Ireland. So you get Conor Benn, especially coming off the heels of this win, Lewis Crocker. I feel like it's a fight that does amazing business in the UK. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But shout out to everybody here. Make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. This is, in fact, the immediate aftermath of Conor Benn schooling Chris Eubank Jr. Congrats to the Benn family. It's been 30 plus years that this rivalry's been going on, and for years, they were always down. There was a deficit. The Benns had never beat the Eubanks, but now Conor Benn has rewrote history in this particular chapter, and he's gotten the Benns on the board, and he's ended the rivalry on a great note for the Benn name. So I don't like I said, I don't think there will be a trilogy fight. So one of you guys mentioned earlier, you said Conor Benn versus Canelo. Honestly, I think Canelo versus Eubank is a more doable fight. That was a fight that was discussed before Canelo lost to Crawford. Canelo's coming off of a loss. Eubank's coming off of a loss. They're both big names. It's a big money fight. Canelo has expressed in the past that one of the things he would like to do before he retires is fight in the UK. So, I mean, if he was ever going to fight in the UK and go to Wembley Stadium and do that, I feel like that's going to be the route he goes. So we'll see. They're saying that tickets have been given away for the Espinoza card out there in Mexico. Well, look, man, he's fighting on okay guy. We all know that's a cherry pick. It's a fight that he's expected to win. Listen, man, Espinoza fights in about 5 hours from now. The top ranked card starts in about 2 hours from now. Espinoza better go in there and just do his job, because I don't know if y'all heard, but if you haven't heard, let me tell y'all. Pro Box TV and Top Rank representatives have both confirmed that the Espinoza-Angelo Leo unification fight is being targeted for later in 2026. I've been telling y'all. I've been telling you in these videos, and I've had Angelo come on here and tell you guys himself. That's the fight we want. We're not scared of Espinoza. Like, we want the fucking smoke with Espinoza. We're not like these other guys at featherweight. So he's not like these other guys at featherweight. So God willing, Espinoza come out this fight with K guy. He wins. Angelo take care of business against Dimiani in February. And then, later on in 2026, we'll have ourselves a great fight on our hands. And I can't wait. He would look the same as Eubank in this fight at 147. So you think that Ben would just be outright weight drain, like just straight up weight drain? Possibly. So, again, Bakr and Murtazalia better not go in there against Josh Kelly and leave that fight close. Because if he do, they're going to rob him out there in Newcastle, like they do like for a lot of these big fights in the UK. And they'll give him that belt, and they'll do Kelly versus Ben for the IBF title at 154. I really feel like people aren't considering that possibility enough. When I saw that they finally made the fight with Bakram and Kelly, and they had the official fight post with the official date, with the official time, and the TV network, and all the particulars and all the details, people are just like, oh, well, Bakram finally fighting. Josh Kelly gets his chance at the title. No, that's a strategic move to where if Kelly can get over the hump by hook or by crook, whether it's fair or not, they will get Ben a title shot at a weight that might even be more favorable to him, because it is possible that maybe Conor Benn can't make 147. He hasn't been at 147 in like 3 years. So I know going down there now after all this time, it's going to be a sharp weight cut. Afro Jam says Boots. Ooh, that's a great point, because that was a fight that I remember I was saying that Eddie Hearn should have been talking about doing Boots versus Ben, right? Because Boots, he needs a bigger name on his resume. You know, I personally, if I'm just being honest, I don't think Conor Benn is as good as Stanley Giannis or some of the other guys Boots has fought. I'm not even sure if Conor Benn is better than Roman Villa, but he's a bigger name than all those guys. He has a country behind him. What did Floyd say? He has a country behind him. A country, right? So especially after this fight, he's gonna have more fans. His stock's at an all-time high. I think you're onto something. I think Boots versus Ben might actually be next on the docket. You know, forget going to 47, go to 54. Because look, Eddie Hearn is never gonna make more money on Conor Benn than he made in these two fights with Eubank. He's already reached his zenith as far as money and earning potential. He's already reached his pinnacle with Conor Benn. So you can't go no more higher. Even if he wins a world title, he's still not going to generate the money that he generated in these two fights. So listen, I feel like, you know what? He knows that with Ben. He knows Boots has so much further to go commercially speaking, and Boots is actually a guy that's good enough to be a pound-for-pound fighter at some point in the future. So I feel like Eddie Hearn will have zero problem serving up Conor Benn to Jaron Ennis. Straight up. Shout out to my guy Mikey D from the land of enchantment, the good old 505, you know, the home of Johnny Tapia, the home of Frontier, the home of the Lobos, New Mexico. He says Angelo Leo wants all that smoke. Albuquerque, stand up. And yeah, shout out to the fine folks in Albuquerque. I'll be out there in Albuquerque come February as I've always been. I've been at every single Angelo Leo fight since after Fulton. So from Aaron Alameda to Tomohi Kameda, I've been at every fight. So that's not going to change. I'm going to camp with them in January, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time game planning and doing my little part to, you know, give them that 0.1% advantage in the ring, which counts at this level. So shout out to you, man. Shout out to Albuquerque. Shout out to everybody around the world watching this live. Virgil Ortiz team is already hyping up that Virgil is the next pay-per-view star that everyone is targeting to get a payday. Come on, that's bogus. And you know what? Oh my God, I can't believe I never thought of this. I could see a world where Virgil Ortiz fights Conor Benn. Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about Virgil Ortiz versus Conor Benn? I feel like Virgil Ortiz and Conor Benn is an option. We know. Listen, if they'll call out Earl Spence, they'll call out Conor Benn. If they'll call out Earl Spence who's on the sofa, who's not trying to fight no more, they will call out Conor Benn coming off the heels of one of the biggest wins where his stock is at an ultimate high. Rick Regan's a smart guy in terms of business and the fight game and management. Like, he understands that every fighter has marquee value, right? And Conor Benn's marquee value has went up after that win. So Virgil can fight him. Now Virgil has a chance to get some of the British fan base to become fans of his. And that only enhances his stock and positioning if he goes to negotiate for a Boots fight. So you know what? I think Virgil versus Boots is a fight that can happen. I think it'd be a fun fight. I think Virgil would stop him, but I think, you know, Conor Benn's gonna come. He's gonna you know, throw a lot of heavy shots, and Virgil's gonna box very, very strong behind that power jab. You know what, guys? Look, Conor Benn is going to be used to hype up Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Ennis. Eddie Hearn is not stupid. Eddie Hearn knows that that he can't go no more higher than this fight with Conor Benn as far as making money. So he's going to be used as a piece on the chessboard to build that fight up. What's my role on Angelo Leo's team? That's a great question. I would say liaison, film study guy. I mean, just I do a little bit of everything. You know, I help make. I study with. It's me, my boy Johnny, and Miguel Leo. We study the opponents together. We bounce ideas off each other. If Angelo needs a sparring partner or sparring, you know, I try to point guys in his direction. When they were out in Japan for the Kameda fight, you know, I did help organize that training camp while we were out there, going to the gyms at Hachiochi Nakaya and stuff like that. So, you know, whatever they need, you know, years ago when Pro Box was becoming up in the sport, you know, they asked my opinions if they should go Pro Box. I told them yeah. So just a little bit of everything, whatever it takes. If I gotta go get people their tickets on fight day so that they can have more peace of mind, not be bothered about tickets, I'll do that too. I did that when we were in Japan. So hell yeah, man. I can't wait for January and February. It's gonna be a fun time on the channel. Eddie cares about Ben more. He was willing to pay Barrios for Ben, not Boots for Barrios, though. Well, because that's the only fight Conor Benn could win a world title with. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading the situation wrong. But from my perspective, from my vantage point, because look, I'm gonna tell you on my perspective. This is why I feel how I feel, and you can tell me what you guys think. But like, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of like, Eddie Hearn came to the States in 2018 to really make his mark in the American market. Now, he hasn't really been able to do that to the degree he wanted to. You know, Leonard Blavatnik, the Zone, they gave him $1 billion to spend on American talent. He couldn't really get the top American fighters. So he had to overpay guys like Demetrius Andrade, Tevin Farmer, Mikey Garcia, and it hasn't worked out for him. And then that money dried up. And then the Zone had to inject another $1 billion of cash back into the company to keep it afloat because they was losing so much money from lawsuits, from fights not really selling well on pay-per-view. And you know, I remember last year when I was covering that Richardson Hitchens Lemos fight, I was ringside with my buddy Sean Zattel. And I just remember we were both looking at Eddie Hearn. It was one of those things where we saw Eddie Hearn like disengaged, and he just looked like, you know, like this is what it came. This is what it's come to for me. Like, you know, I'm in America, and the best I could do was Richardson Hitchens and Diego Pacheco at the Fontainebleau. Like, so when he signed Boots, there was like this reinvigorated look in his face, and I actually, when he talks about Jerron Ennis, because Eddie Hearn bullshits about a lot of his fighters like Dalton Smith and these guys that, you know, can't beat nobody, but when he talks about Boots being the best fighter in the world and that he could really beat these guys, I actually believe him. So I don't think he'll have a problem with Conor Benn and Boots fighting each other because, for one, it's a no-lose situation for him. He has both fighters under control. Both fighters, it's going to do good business. And, you know, if Conor Benn wins, Conor Benn's now a bigger star in America and is more respected throughout the fight community in America. If Boots wins, now Boots has more of a British fan base. So there's really no lose. It's a win-win situation. BT is a professional fangirl. Well, I mean, if that's what you say, you know, hey, you can have your opinion, but I know the role I played, so God bless. No, he's in Vegas. He's in Vegas right now. He's in Vegas. But yeah. So I would say this. Look, as far as Ben's concerned, when I look at the queue, I'm going to say in order, I think Barrios is the fight they're targeting, right? Barrios is one, because it's the fight Conor Ben can't shut up about. Barrios won. Barrios won. Crocker 2. And then I feel like Boots and Virgil are 3A and 3B. You know, those are fights where if those guys are actually open to fight and they want Conor Benn, you know, I think Eddie Hearn will consider it. I really do. BT, there's no way Ben does not fight Barrios versus Ryan next. Eddie will have in the US for that fight night. Oh, for sure. Especially if Ryan comes out of that fight and Ryan beats Conor Benn, I feel like, you know, that's a huge fight. Now you got Ben coming off of the Ryan Garcia fight with the W. Or yeah, Ben come off the Eubank fight with the W. Ryan's now a world champion. I mean, big time American fan base, big time British fan base. I don't see how you're right. You're actually right. What did I think about Jack Catterall's performance? Ooh, great question. You know, first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to Jack Catterall. I thought he had an amazing performance against Ikal Esserman. You know, Esserman's a solid guy. Esserman's fringe world level guy. You know, he's upset some guys at a good level in the UK. lower top 15 caliber fighter right now in a weak welterweight division. So it was a good step up in class for Catterall because this was his second fight as a welterweight, and I believe his first under the watchful eye of Bozy Ennis. Very impressed because for a long time, people say like Jack Catterall is boring, which to be honest with you, I never really found Jack Catterall boring. I think Jack Catterall is a good fighter. I think he's always had like sneaky good power. I enjoyed when he fought Pro Gray in their fight and the Taylor fights and whatnot. But I feel like all the things he does really, really well. Bozy Ennis found a way to somehow amplify those things because because early on in the fight, the first 3-4 rounds, Catterall was in control of the fight. Then Esserman, got his way into the fight and started to, hold his ground a bit more in the ring. But when the fight commanded for Catterall to go to another gear, go to another level, which by the way, I didn't even know he had another gear or another level, but he did. And he knocked this guy out of the ring and wound up stopping him. He was like punching through the target in this fight. I saw a different Jack Catterall in this fight, and I'm actually excited for him. I'm excited to see Jack Catterall at welterweight. I'm excited to see Jack Catterall and him becoming a player in this division because right now he's ranked pretty highly. I think he's a potential fight for Conor Benn as well. I mean, Catterall is a potential fight. Maybe Catterall could fight Lewis Crocker or maybe Catterall. More realistically, I feel like Catterall versus Karen, Catterall versus Rohan Polanco, and Catterall versus the Raul Cordial Alexis Rocha winner. I feel like those are 3 fights. And then I'll even throw in Rashidi Ellis because he's ranked pretty close to Catterall in the WBO. I like those 4 fights. I don't think his next fight will be for a world title, but I was very, very impressed. And truthfully speaking, I want to give Bozy Ennis his flowers as a coach. A lot of people don't give trainers their flowers in boxing. I feel like in boxing, people are it can be so toxic at times. People are always eager to down these trainers when they lose. Like even in the comment section, somebody said that Bomac took a loss, but Bomac's still a great trainer. The loss doesn't define Bomac. His legacy as a trainer is stamped in the sport. But like Bozy to me is not getting the flowers he truly deserves as a coach because when I look at what makes a good coach, it's like 3 things. It's number 1, can you build a world champion from scratch? He's done that with Jaron Ennis, and Jaron Ennis is a hell of a talent. Can you improve a fighter in the middle of their career if they decide to come to you for guidance, which he's done that on multiple occasions. Look at Jarrell Miller in the Andy Ruiz fight. Look at Jack Catterall in this particular fight. Look at Andy Cruz coming from Cuba with a really amateur style and make it. And Bozy has given him a pro style. And now he might win a world title. So I think he's an amazing coach. And then also too, can you instill confidence in the fighters? And the common theme that I see with all these fighters is that when Bozy speaks to them, they have confidence in him. So there's something that he's doing in the gym that's instilling confidence in these guys. And even like with Stephen Folan, I remember when Stephen Folan left his friend. What was that guy? What was the guy's name? Wahid. When he left him, Wahid Rahim. When he left him and he went to Bozy, and then he had his first fight with Bozy Ennis against Carlos Castro. He got dropped in that fight. And a lot of people were saying, well, Bozy can't train. Bozy's not that good. Bozy's not this. Bozy's not that. A lot of people didn't think Stephen Folan was going to beat Brandon Figueroa. And when he beat Brandon Figueroa, people still didn't really give Bozy his flowers. Look, I'm saying that to say this. Bozy Ennis has proven that he knows how to coach fighters, because what I can see from Bozy is that he's not like, because a lot of coaches are stubborn. They have their style and they try to impose their style on that fighter, right? Bozy, I feel like from what I could see, he's the kind of coach that meets these fighters where they're at. He finds out their strengths and he tries to amplify those, and he gets the best out of them. So I'm really, really impressed. I didn't think that Catterall was going to look that good, but I'm really, really impressed. Is Bomac a great trainer, or is he an average trainer with a great fighter like Virgil Hunter or Andre Ward? Well, you know what's funny? I used to think that about Virgil Hunter. I spent 44 days around him when I was in the Bay Area for Yugo Osaki's training camp, and I got to see him work in the gym. And I don't think Virgil Hunter is a bad trainer. What I think about Virgil Hunter is that I think in order for you to really flourish with Virgil Hunter, you got to be an A-level fighter because Virgil Hunter is so detail-oriented. And I think Virgil Hunter, going back and revisiting his career, like he's lost a lot of these fights because a lot of these guys that he decided to take on were already damaged goods when he got them, like Amir Khan. And maybe it might even like Amir Khan's the best example I could give. Like Amir Khan was getting knocked out plenty before Virgil Hunter. And but yeah, I mean, I would say that no, Bomack's a great trainer. Bomack's a great trainer. Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you guys this: when you're judging a trainer, no matter what you think about who else they train, if they take one fighter, I don't give a damn if it's their only fighter they ever develop well. If they take one fighter from scratch, I'm talking about before he turns pro, I'm talking about from the amateurs. If you take one fighter and you get him from point A of being a young fighter who doesn't know anything about boxing to now being a world champion, if you build him up from scratch, you're a great trainer, in my opinion. That's what I think. If you make one trainer from scratch, you're a great trainer. Amir, Nonito, Berto did nothing with Virgil Hunter. Berto wasn't that great to begin with. You're naming guy like Berto wasn't like Berto. Really, if we're just being honest, wasn't no overly great talent to begin with, and you can make the argument that with Virgil, he was on the back nine to begin with. Nonito, I mean, Nonito doesn't have back nine. Nonito's still boxing now. And Amir, you know, from going back and because when I was in the Bay Area and I was at Virgil Hunter's gym, I went back and I studied Virgil Hunter's whole career because I had I had time to do that when I was there. And even with Amir, like Amir was already getting knocked out before that. You know, Amir Khan, really and truthfully, like he's a guy too. From if you go back and you read the reports of what he was like at that time, he was a guy that didn't always live the life of a fighter. So you know, a coach can do his best, but if the fighter don't meet him where he's at and give his best effort, then the coach, you know, he can't make miracles happen. A lot of you guys ask me about the Adam Azim fight. Listen, Kurt Scobie, I was hoping that he would come out and back up some of the talk. I've never been overly high on Kurt Scobie. I mean, he can punch. He's a stocky guy. He's made a name for himself on Instagram with a good following and things like that. But he, you know, I never thought he was. I never thought he was a guy that would go all the way and win a world title. Adam Azim, on the other hand, is a guy that I think will go all the way and win a world title. So, I mean, it was a one-sided fight. It should have been a one-sided fight. My only gripe, if I gotta be like nitpicky about it, which I don't want to nitpick, but I would like to see Adam Azim get him out of a little earlier. But you know, Adam didn't want to overly commit. He stayed behind this jab. He was very, very strong, and you know, he got him out of there in the 12th round. So good for him. Yeah, you know, Kurt's coming in on short notice. You know, it's not an excuse, but you know, it's very difficult. So respect to Kurt Scobie for stepping up to the plate and taking the fight and being a true fighter and doing that. But again, there's levels. Like there's levels to boxing. Kurt Scobie to me is not on that level. Is Reynoso a good trainer? Yeah, I think. Look, Reynoso, I think his flaw as a coach is that he tries to impose his style on every fighter he trains, right? But again, if I'm consistent with my principles, if you take one fighter from scratch and you make him a world champion, which, you know, you could debate, you could say like, well, he didn't really take Canelo from scratch because technically it was his dad, Chepo Reynoso. So if you want to say that, you can say that, but he was still there. Like he was still in the gym every day on a day-to-day basis, helping Canelo early in his career with Chepo. So I'll count that, and they stayed together all the way through the wins and through the losses, and you got to respect it because fighters these days they lose a fight, they go to this coach, they go to that coach, they change coach like they change clothes. So I think I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think I do think he is overrated as a trainer, but I stay true to my principles. If you take one champion from scratch, make him a world champion, you're a great trainer, and no one can take you from that. No one can ever take that from you. That's what it is. Amir Khan had elite skills and speed. All he needed was someone to limit those 5-punch combos and teach him how to protect his chin. Amir Khan had his habits drilled into him already. And truth be told, I mean, people like to say that like what Virgil I think did as good as he could have did with Amir Khan. I remember before Amir Khan got knocked the fuck out by Canelo Alvarez in Parked, when he was beating the guys like Devin Alexander and who was it? Like that around that time, 2014, 2015, when he was beaten around that time, I remember people wouldn't shut up about how great he looked at Virgil Hunter. So that's what I'm saying. People are very slow to give trainers credit for when they do well, and they're very quick to criticize. And over the years, like I've learned that, you know, I'm just as bad as some people that some of the boxing fans that. So again, my main thing is if you take if you take one fighter from scratch and make him a world champion, I don't care if you get 55s after that and they all get knocked out. You were good enough to at least go through the process from start to finish to get to the highest level of boxing, and I respect that. One of you guys had asked me what did I think about Jin Sasaki sparring his brother at the train station. I think it was my man TSM. I thought it was pretty cool, considering, you know, I've been to that train station in Tokyo, in Hachiochi, so I'm very familiar with it. I've been to that train station countless times, so it's crazy to see him sparring at the train station. I thought it was pretty cool. I wish they could do things like that here in America, but you know, you couldn't do that here in America. But it was cool. Tito Mercado versus Adam Azim will be a mega unification fight one day. I agree. I agree. I think, I don't know about unification fight, but it's going to be a great fight one day. Whether it's unification or not, I don't think it really matters. I think Azim and Tito's style are going to mesh really well together. It's just a matter of will, because, you know, I know how boxing is. Like Mercado's from Nicaragua, you know, in boxing, if you're not Puerto Rican or Mexican and you come from like any other Latin country besides those countries, they're like really slow to promote you, because the whole thing is, oh, well, if it's not a Mexican or Puerto Rican fighter, then, you know, they don't got no fan base, which you can't really say, because like Romo Gonzalez, I remember when I went to California in 2016, when he fought Carlos Cuadras, there was more Nicaraguans in the crowd than there were Mexicans, and the forum was sold out. The forum was packed to capacity. So I just think for Mercado, it's a matter of matchroom boxing and all parties involved not being lazy and allowing him to be great. You know. That being said, yeah, Adam Azim and Mercado is a fight that I don't think people are talking about enough in the sport of boxing, but, you know, in due time, in due season, I think both guys are going to keep winning, and it'll become a fight that becomes worth talking about in boxing amongst the masses. Yeah, but that's not till later on. I think Espinoza is not going to be fighting till like about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So, you know, I'm doing this live right now. I'll do a post-fight review video later on, and then I'll probably do a live tomorrow at some point to recap Espinoza, and, you know, God willing, you know, if Espinoza get upset, like if K Guy wins, I'm coming back on here immediately. But if he does what I think he's gonna do, I'll come back on here tomorrow, and we'll talk about, you know, Espinoza and Angelo, and you know, because that's the fight that Top Rank's targeting. Top Rank is looking at, for those of you who know and for those of you who don't know, Top Rank has already said that there's already been reports coming out that Gary Jonas, Pro Box, Top Rank, you know, Aram, the fight they're targeting for the latter part of 2026 is Rafael Espinoza versus Angelo Leo. So it'll be a great fight. I got Angelo stopping him if they fight. God willing, man, I think that's very possible. You know, it's a dangerous fight for both men. You know, Espinoza is one of them guys that has that thick bone density. So I think in order to beat him, you're going to have very good defense and tight defense, and, you know, make sure he doesn't land those combinations on you to swell your face up. But if Angelo I know shows up, turns up to that fight, I got zero doubt in my mind that happens. So Kurt Scobie needed to get busy early. Only thing Kurt has is great constitution. I think he means conditioning. He survived that body until very, very late. Yeah, I just think that like I said, I'm not gonna fault Kurt. I'm not gonna fault Kurt Scobie. Kurt Scobie's he's been, in my opinion, an overachiever in boxing, like a real deal overachiever. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he started boxing a little late. He really started upping his training around the pandemic. He went to Gleason's gym, really dedicated himself. So I think for like where he started to where he's gotten to a good level. But like I said, Adam Azim's a guy that is when we talk about British boxing, one of the premier like young blue chip talents. And I think Adam did what he was supposed to do in that fight. Nobody beats Rafael Espinoza at 126. Hey, you're entitled to your opinion. Espinoza is an awesome fighter, but I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. And listen, you can't overlook nobody. Espinoza can't overlook K Guy. Angelo can't overlook Diamante. I might come back on here live in about 6 hours. If Espinoza ain't careful, I'm gonna have to come back on here in about 5 or 6 hours and talk some shit. Because truth be told, Rafael Espinoza should beat K Guy, but they fight the fights for a reason. The crazy thing is nobody calls out Angelo. They know he's the best in the division, in my opinion. Shushu calls out everybody but Angelo. I got him cookie Shushu as well if they fight. I like Shushu, good fighter. The reason why I feel he doesn't call out Angelo is two reasons. I feel like he doesn't call out Angelo, one, because he's a big guy for featherweight and he doesn't want to go the IBF rehydration clause. But then also, he sparred a lot of rounds with Bernardo Lopez. So he knows how strong Bernardo Lopez is. And with that being said, he saw what happened to Bernardo Lopez. So that's why I feel like he's a little reluctant. K Guy is tough. He's actually never been as much trouble as he's never been in as much trouble as Espinoza has, even though he's lost before. Very durable guy, very durable guy, strong guy. That's what I'm saying. Like if K Guy can hang tough and take him into the deeper rounds and maybe even hurt Espinoza, because you gotta be honest, right? Like Espinoza has shown that he's a true champion thus far in his career. But Rafael Espinoza, he has been hurt before. K Guy is physically strong. If K Guy is able to hang in the pocket with him, and with Espinoza being 6'1" at featherweight, there's always those questions of could he be weight drained? Could it be that time where his frame catches up to him? We'll see. That's an outstanding point. I didn't think of that. Yeah, Eric Corey wants to know why I keep blocking him, because Eric Corey be talking that bullshit. So Eric, you know what? Anytime I see a name, you better just have another screen name, because if I see Eric Corey in my chat, I'm blocking you. I'm getting tired of you talking sideways on some bitch shit. Yeah, no, like I told Shushu, I told Shushu, I told him one time, we were talking on Instagram, and I told him that Angelo's not ducking him, and I even told him the timeline of when I think they will fight. And I know a little bit about what's going on with Angelo's career, so I just told him keep winning, get a belt. And I think Top Rank's plan is to eventually, if they're gonna do that fight, it'll be the vacation fight. I think Top Rank's gonna have a big 2026. People making fun of them because of Tubi, but while everybody's making fun of them because of them being on Tubi, they've made Navarrete versus Nunez. They got Zayas versus Barreau. They're probably gonna make Leo versus Espinoza as long as they both win. And I would say probably in the first quarter of 2026 they will announce a network deal. There's been some rumblings about that, so we'll see how it goes. I think people are being dumb underestimating Top Rank. They don't survived decade after decade after decade after decade. You don't think that they'll do it again? Why not just stream on YouTube? I don't know, man. I'm with you. I feel like that's the route they should go. But if they stream it on YouTube, they're not gonna get that money that they would get from a network. So I think that's what it is. But I'm with you. I think Top Rank If they were to just stream on YouTube, they would do great. Could you imagine if they did like Navarrete versus Nunez on Top Rank channel for free? People would watch it. Inoue, when Inoue just fought Merjan, he did crazy views on Facebook Live. Could you imagine if they would have streamed it on YouTube Live as well? Come on, what are we talking about? Yeah, Top Rank for the time being is on Tubi. So tonight's Espinoza card is on Tubi. And for those of you that don't know about Tubi, Tubi is like an app. It's a streaming platform service app that they have a lot of movies and shows and things like that. And Top Rank has their own channel on there, the Top Rank Classics channel. So go there, download it. That's how you can watch K Guy versus Espinoza tonight. So I'm looking forward to it, and it'll be a really good matchup. But yeah, shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're here in the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of Conor Benn easily schooling and outclassing Chris Eubank Jr. I shouldn't be surprised that Eubank looks so shot because he's 36 years old, but somehow I am. So respectable, guys. The Benn Eubank rivalry is officially over. It's spanned generations now, and the Benns finally are on the win column. So yeah. Yeah, Xander. Yep, I know they got a lot of familiarity. That's part of the reason why I feel like they were both so quick to take this fight, because both of them probably saw something in sparring they feel they could exploit. So respect to them, getting right to it, conducting themselves as real professional businessmen and champions. Yeah, yeah, I guess some of y'all didn't hear that news. Yeah, Top Rank's on Tubi. So Hyro, and shout out to Hyro. He says, who cared about this fight and what was Turkey? Hyro, I didn't care about Eubank Benn until I saw 50 Cent. As stupid as that sounds and as casual as that may sound, I didn't care about Eubank at all. And Ben, I didn't really make any content for the rematch at all heading into it. It took 50 Cent coming out with Chris Eubank to get me like invested in the fight, because I'm like, man, you can't come out 50 Cent playing all these great songs, all these great classic songs from the 2000s, and go in there and lose. And what did Eubank do? He soiled 50 Cent's name, and he had a lackluster performance. It was one of the best ring walks I've ever seen, one of the top 5 best ring walks ever in history of boxing. I just wish it had a better performance to go along with it, because I don't know. What do I think is next for Ben? I think Conor Benn. It's crazy to ask that question because there's so many options. He could fight Catterall, he could fight Crocker, he could fight Barrios, he could fight Kelly if Kelly comes through that Murtazalia fight. Personally, I think he'll probably look to fight Catterall or Barrios or Crocker. Hyro says, I'm surprised you're not worried about the Lightning beating the Florida Panthers right now. I actually have the game in my other tab right now. When the third period starts, I'm probably gonna get up on out of here and go watch the third period and then get ready to settle in for Espinoza and Kaga. I'm just talking right now to pass time till the third period starts. But we here. And by the way, Hyro, the Panthers are gonna win that game. What's the next big British fight that could fill a stadium, BT? I would say definitely if they were to get it done, for all the talk of what these guys aren't anymore, I think Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua would do exceptional business at Wembley Stadium or Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah. Something like that. If not that fight, I don't think Itama versus Dubois would fill up a stadium, but I think Itama versus Dubois could fill out the O2 Arena. That'd be a big one. Right now, I'll probably say Joshua Fury. That's the one that comes to mind. I liked the Jack fight for him. Am I tripping, or did Jack look a bit better? He looked great. Like, he looked awesome. I was very, very impressed, and that's how I know, because I remember during one of these lives, I went on this rant about trainers, and I was talking about how a great trainer can get the best out of whatever style they train. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you think about Bozianis with Catterall? And I said, we're going to see to what level. We know Bozianis. I mean, anybody who knows Bozianis is a fantastic coach, but I feel like the Catterall, him with Catterall was going to really, really measure how he is as a coach, because he's got that real British textbook style. Could he get him out of that and transition him to more of a aggressive, professional, front foot dominant style? And I feel like that's what they did. He was punching through the target. I was very, very impressed with Jack Catterall. So yeah, I mean, Catterall is a guy I'm very anxious to see now at 47. It's very possible. I don't think they're gonna go to 60 though, personally, because Terrence Crawford's going down there now, and the division's about to be in a log jam because Crawford's in a fight. If Johnny Beck beats Lara or Lara beats Johnny Beck, Crawford is fighting the winner of that fight. And then, Adames is there, probably fight someone as well. So I think it don't really make sense. I think he should stay at 54. I think they'll find a way to get him to stay at 54. I know from the past in my dealings with Peter Kahn, who is Xander's manager, that they have very, very good people around him as far as nutrition is concerned. With perfecting athletes and things like that. So I think they'll find a way to keep him making 54 healthy, and I think he's going to try to go undisputed. But maybe I'm wrong. Is Conor Benn undisputed marshal for UBT, or is there still a weakness for you? Every fighter has weaknesses. I mean, every fighter. There's no fighter in the history of boxing that doesn't have weakness. But I think I still saw flaws in this fight. It's just that Eubank is so past it. He got so old overnight. He just couldn't pull the trigger, and even when he could, there wasn't really anything on his punches. So I still think Ben would lose to Haney. Ben would lose to Norman. Ben would lose to. I think Ben might lose to Crocker or Barrios. Like Ben, guys, is a very limited fighter. I mean, I'm gonna say Crocker and Barrios are pick'em fights, but he would lose to Haney. He would lose to Norman. He would lose to Rohan Polanco. I think he would lose to Jack Catterall. I think there's a lot of guys at 47 he would lose to. I think he will lose to Boots if they bring him to 54. Like Ben is not that good. What about Ben staying at 160? He could beat some mid-level guys for 160. No, because there's not enough money in fighting those guys. You got to understand it. If Ben is going to stay at 160, he's only at 160 in the first place because of money, because of Eubank. Yeah, it's a legacy fight, the Ben name, the Eubank name, all that blase, but really it's a money fight. He's not going to stay at 160 to fight, Marcus Valle or Joshan James or who else they got there at 160, or Yuri Cedeno or Aaron McKenna or Vincenzo Gutierrez. Like, there's no money in them fights. Harold mentioned Jesus Ramos. Do I think Ben could be Jesus Ramos? No, I don't think he could be Jesus Ramos. I think that'd be a very fun fight, though. I think Ramos and him would make probably, out of all the matches that have been thrown out, I think Ramos and Ben would probably be one of the most exciting matches possible, because Ramos, his style and Ben's style, I think mesh very well. But there's not a lot of there's not a lot of fights there from a legacy standpoint and from a money standpoint that will make sense for Ben. I think the fights are at 54 to at 47, and I think that's where they're going to go. Ben's father was better than him. I mean, I think both guys' fathers were better than them. Oh my God, yes, that's what we need in boxing. I'll go crazy. There's no reason that I think they would make that fight, but man, if we could ever get Jin Sasaki versus Conor Benn, oh my Lord, I'll go crazy. You never read the full comment. Wait a year or two and fight Crawford in his last fight. I mean, they could do that. They could do that. I mean, obviously, if the opportunity presents itself, it would be great, but like you have to stay active. You would have to be ranked and you have to stay active. And that being said, you know, I just don't see him. I don't see him staying at 60 to fight the guys in the rankings. I don't. There's not enough money. Because look, you guys are saying that he should wait, right? If he waits for Crawford, he's going to be removed from the rankings and he won't be able to get a fight for the belts. So he's going to have to fight someone in the rankings. I don't think really there's not anybody in the rankings worth the money. Jin is walking CTE. He's getting blasted by bench. Possible. And yeah, Jin's over there sparring in the train station today. He was sparring in the train station earlier today, doing that crazy shit over there in Japan. He needs to come to America. Like I've been telling people at this gym that he needs to come to America and really like get his act together training wise, but you know, they don't want to listen to BT, so we'll see how it goes for him. But guys, look, on that note, look, I'm not making this a long live. I just wanted to come on here right quick, give my quick little thoughts on Ben versus Eubank. I'm gonna end the live, all right? I'm gonna end the live. But before I do, I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and we'll see how it goes. If K Guy Espinoza winds up being a crazy fight that's worth going live for, immediately I'll come back. But if not, I'll be back live tomorrow, and that's what it'll be. So listen, you guys take care. Enjoy the fights tonight. Best of luck to Espinoza and K Guy in their fight. And yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take your eyes.